with our strategic partner, ETS India, event partner, GBSN, Global Business School Network, and EdTech partner, Coursera. The age of digital change is currently influencing higher education. Learning technologies and digital platforms are now essential for teaching and learning. They're no longer an afterthought. Higher education institutions may function more efficiently, maintain their competitiveness and increasingly digital environment, and better prepare their students for a digital workplace. To shed light on the digital transformation in higher education and the areas for enhancing digitalization, I welcome our panel members. Our moderator for the panel discussion is Dr. Sairam Pinisetti. Dr. Sairam Pinisetti is an assistant professor in the domain of artificial intelligence and holds the chair for the Center of Management Research for the School of Business. He holds a PhD in machine learning and its applications in water treatment from UPES, Dehradun. It's a pleasure to have you on the panel, sir. Dr. Srinivasa Rao, CEO of Apollo MedSkills Limited. Dr. Srinivasa is a physician providing clinical thought leadership and multi-expertise for making optimum use of information and communication technology in medicine and healthcare. He has 20 years of experience in hospital management, medical education, and healthcare skilling. A pleasure to have you join us, sir. Dr. Nandakishore Yedamsetti, founder and managing director of Gaman Rehabilitation Center. He's a senior leader consulting and licensed psychotherapist with expertise in treating palliative, pediatric, adolescent, adult, and geriatric patients, both in critical care and ward environments. He has also authored 2 books, Back Pain in Athletes and Prevention of Sport Injuries, and did an observational study on common injuries in kabaddi players. Delighted to have you on the panel, sir. Manish Jha, the deputy editor of Indian Express. Mr. Jha did an executive program in management from IIT Bombay, Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management. He was awarded South Korea's Kwan Hun Press Foundation Fellowship 2017 in Seoul, South Korea. He also received a special civilian membership honor from the United Service Institution of India, Indian Armed Forces official think tank. And he's also the founder of Our Blues and Jazz Club in India. Honored to have you at this event, sir. Mr. Vivek Kalia, business head at Airbus. Mr. Kalia has over 24 years of professional leadership experience in business operations, business performance, procurement, and HR management. He's responsible for the end-to-end Airbus training business operations across India and South Asia, from the sale of training offerings to revenue generations, KPI monitoring, and business reporting. Honored to have you at this event, sir. I think the panel deserves another round of applause. Please give a round of applause to our moderator, Sairam Pinisetti, along with the other panel members, to shed light on the topic, digitalization is here to stay and trying to transform. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek. So it's a very wonderful topic to have the post-lunch discussions upon. And digital transformations, we are going through the phase already. It's not a known term. It's been there for over a decade. But post-pandemic, every industry sector is trying to use different type of digital interventions in their business activities. And IBM has reported that more than 57% of usage for these type of digital interventions has been increased post-pandemic sector. And McKinsey has also reported in the similar lines. So it's a great panel here. And since this ECF is all about higher education, and my questions will be mostly revolving around the digitalizations and the need of having such type of expertise by the students as well. We have people from medical sector, we have people from print media, and we have a person from the airline industry, and that's where most of the business school students will be working upon. So I start with you, sir, and you come from Apollo Medical's complete facilities, and what do you see the digital transformations impacting the healthcare sector, and how do you encourage students to upskill themselves in that directions?
Thank you very much, Dr. Sairam. So basically, healthcare over the last decade is actually being transformed by three Bs. The first B is biology. Lot of advancements in genetics, advancements in genealogy are helping us in predictive analysis of diseases. The first B is biology. The second B that is actually transforming healthcare is bytes. When I say bytes, the amount of data in healthcare is humongous. And there are a lot of permutations and combinations in healthcare data, unlike other industry data. Most of them have a misnomer that healthcare is very slow in adoption of digitalization. But I think that that's not a fact because of the complexity involved in the data analysis. So the improvement in bytes, the processing capacity of the computing has actually led to more data processing in healthcare. That's the reason now we are seeing AI applications in healthcare. We are seeing a lot of data analysis in healthcare. The third B that is actually driving the digitalization adoption within healthcare is bandwidth. So thanks that we have launched 5G last week, I think in Hyderabad at least, I think it was across India. So I think these processing speeds are actually, the improved bandwidths are helping to kind of disrupt these innovations and also address the urban-rural divide in healthcare, particularly technologies like telemedicine and e-health. These are the technologies that were there for almost 3.5, 4 decades now in India. But the adoption we are seeing now, of course, one is thanks to COVID. It is accelerating that kind of teleconsultations. But definitely, because of improved bandwidths, there's no disruption in the consulting kind of activity between the doctor and a patient who is remotely sitting. I think these are the three broad elements, which are three Bs, which are actually driving the digitalization in healthcare, adoption of digitalization in healthcare. Thanks, Dr. Saram. I'll speak more in my next question. Thank you.
Dr. Nandakishore, you also come from the similar area of healthcare industry. So can you please share your viewpoints on the digital interventions in the healthcare sectors?
Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is awake. Great. After a wonderful lunch. So digital transformation, we look at globally and also at Indian level. The primary change which is coming at doctor appointments, 78% of the current doctor appointments in Hyderabad are happening digitally. And nearly 15 years back, Vijaya Diagnostics started sharing the diagnostic reports by digital. Exactly. But the question here, as Dr. Srinivas Garu very well mentioned, when we have pandemics like COVID, we have nearly 1,000 scans done on the same day. There are 100 guys with the name of Srinivas. So whose report, who is getting, what sort of human resources we have. So the digitalization is necessary and it is happening at a rapid pace and it is definitely going to stay. But this is helping minimizing the human errors. That is the top priority. And the second biggest challenge in any healthcare setup, irrespective of the numbers, is medication handling. So we will have human errors in giving the appropriate medication to the patient can be minimized. And that is second thing. And the third, the law enforcement has now demanding up to 15 years of record keeping. Without a digital transformation, this is almost impossible. And fourth and most important aspect is augmented reality, virtual reality, and big data analytics. These things are actually helping us already in identifying most common problems. And if I'm restricting my talk only to the geographical locations, a place like people coming from Uddanam, our data is already predicting that there might be renal compromise in those patients coming from the coastal areas of Vizag. And if they are coming from the middle coastal areas, there is always water pollution and the markers are indicating look at the liver functions. So this topographic identification where previously doctors used to have enough time to sit and collect all the history and the presentation of the patient. And they can always have it is like an individual person to person, more personalized healthcare. And in the modern era with multiple subspecialties evolving, becoming much more critical and difficult to have that much of time with each patient. But the digitalization of the past history, their demographic history, their age, past medication is making the decisions easier and much more patient-centric and also easier for the healthcare givers. So digitalization, if we are looking at the importance, obviously world is aware and we are enjoying it at a better pace. And now it is aggressively growing into subspecialties. There are minor areas where we have to still get better. It's like usually the healthcare professionals are reluctant to the modern systems, softwares, technologies, as Dr. Srinivas Garu already mentioned about the bandwidth areas. So the willingness to understand and make a hospital paper free is getting increasingly difficult. Even in my own institution, when we have to motivate people, they are happy to look at the report. We still share the report in all the screens available in the hospital, but they still want it, where is the printed format? So they always looking at this transition in healthcare professionals needs to be brought in, and also the willingness from the lawmakers. The strict reinforcement is needed. Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay. So my question to Mr. Manish Shah, since you're coming from the area of print media, and nowadays the newspapers and magazines is reducing, people are reducing the usage of purchase of subscription for that, but moving towards e-subscription basis. So what is the challenge you faced to go digital, and how journalists and all are facing it, because it's again getting tweets, it's again getting the number of readers per every article is again another data what is going on. So what is your view in that aspect, sir?
Yeah, thank you. I think one of the remarkable thing that happened in India is digitalization in the print, in the media world, basically. How important is this? You have to understand. Of course, it's digitalization across health, education, all matter. But in media, the digitization is some of the things we can't take it for granted. It has happened. It has almost transformed the way we look at our country. Why we're talking about, when we see media, what we call the fourth pillar, it has a huge role to play. When this country is emerging, it's a democratic country, and we want to grow with a lot of values. We don't want to grow like China. We don't want to grow with, have trillions of dollars of economy, and not sustainable, not having opinions, and you suffocate within. So within country, in India, we have to growing, and we're growing with a fast pace, which makes sure that we're growing with a lot of values. And their media plays a very critical role, and their digitization plays a much critical role. So I talk about two aspects of Indian media getting into digitization and how we're going to transform. First is a media itself. How you embrace news. For example, I take a story which happened in rural part of India, in Jharkhand, I won't say hinterland, but the corner of India. And a small reporter, he happened to be in his school or maybe using his mobile. And he talked about one of the basic, there was inspection from a collector of a senior bureaucrat visiting the school. And he did highlight, he was talking about some of the aspects, education system and all big stuff. And a girl child, she stood up and she raised a very fundamental question about that. Look, I'm not having my hygiene pad, which I'm supposed to have from a school scheme, something like that. You know what? That become viral. That is a fundamental thing you're talking about. That is what digitization has done to India. We all talk about big issues, G20, big foreign affairs debate, trillion-dollar economy. But what matters, how you impact the people, the lives of people, is 1.4 billion people, and that's what digitization has done to India, going to the corner of India. It does not have to be big publication like ours, even, say, Indian Express or Times of India or other BBCs of the global. It's a small, a local channel, or perhaps a YouTube channel that create impact. That's what digitization has done to reach out to wider experience. That's the one aspect. I have more story to tell you, and that is very fundamental to address where India is growing, and it has a role to play. Of course, there could be good and bad debate, but largely, it is absolutely remarkable thing to happen in India in the shortest period of time. You see, we have about million smartphone users, 606 million people. Second aspect to talk about is the transition of media. Yes, it's a difficult transition, but it is what media houses to embrace. It's about, we believe in the market economy. That's how there's nothing. It's a competition, believe in efficiency, how much you can reach out. There's no cribbing about print gonna die. Even advanced market like US and UK, these advanced countries, when you talk all parameters, you have the certain print media running. Washington Post is still running, New York Times running, right? They have some values and system. So it's not going to die here, but transition is difficult. The traditional media houses are adopting. Things are not very bad, but we need to sort of have a hybrid model, which we are going through the transition. In between, what we have to maintain is the hygiene aspect, the regulation aspect, which everybody is debating about that, and that's how we're going to move forward. Yeah.
Thank you for your views on that. I'll get back to you. But moving to Mr. Vivek Kalia, you come from HyBiz and aircraft industry, basically. And Dr. Nandakishore has mentioned that people are moving towards AR, VR-based solutions, and now Metaverse has come into the another technology aspect, where the Dubai airport, you can shop from here sitting using the Metaverse. So how digital transformations are impacting the aircraft industry and gain more profits in that direction? Can you just give your insights, please?
Thank you very much. I think aircraft or aviation industry is already a tech-based industry. It is pretty heavily tech-based industry. There are various facets in which the digitalization is being used, because data is the one which is driving not only airlines but also the maintenance of the aircraft which takes place. So I will tell you in 3 different parts. One is, as you said, AR, VR. I'll tell you from the training point of view which is there, because training is a very integral part of an aviation business. So since you can't train everything on an aircraft, so you train on simulators, but now if even simulators are expensive, so you start training your procedures on the VR devices. So that is where I would say the VR devices come in. Then when the pandemic hit, obviously everybody was stuck to the homes, but the pilots need to continually train. That's a regulatory requirement. They need to continually train. So there were programs, there were digital programs which were formulated and were sent across to the people so that they can keep themselves current through the media of tablets which were issued to them, so that they can keep themselves current, and thereafter they can come back to the classroom sessions and to the simulators and then keep the current, because this is a regulatory requirement, it's a safety requirement. So that's a very small nugget which I will tell you, that yes, the programs were defined, the classroom sessions were taken, special regulations were passed by regulators like DGC and all, where digital means of delivering training was acceptable. Earlier it was not acceptable, new regulations were passed. Moving on to the performance of the aircraft, a lot of data, a lot of aircraft equipment are digitalized, because of which it can transfer the data while the aircraft is in the air. The data can be transferred both ways, not only from the base station or to the aircraft, but also from the aircraft down below. So the data of the aircraft, all the motion parameters, engine parameters can be downloaded real time down below, and the airline, whichever is there, can decipher out if there are certain performance issues, and as soon as the aircraft lands back, those particular data is available and it can be easily addressed. And same way, the OEMs can use the data to further refine and make specific components which are required by this thing through the means of 3D printing and other technologies, but also give solutions. Since OEMs are the ones who are making the aircraft, they can give solutions to the airlines, and so that the performance of the aircraft is better, the downtime of the aircraft is the least one. And third one is also, which we always forget in the aviation sector, is the airports are also part of the aviation ecosystem. So that is where the on-time performance, which we keep hearing about, Indigo, the Air India and all these things, it happens on-time performance when you're able to roll out the aircraft on time. And how will that happen? It again will happen through the data which is available, that how quickly the aircraft can come down, which bay the aircraft is coming in. That data is available to the pilots which are there, the ground crew who are going to service that aircraft, and or the associated auxiliaries which are going to fuel that aircraft, the food delivery which is going to come, the sanitation which is going to come. So that defines how quickly you can turn on the aircraft, and you can ensure that it's an on-time performance. So data is, as I mentioned in my talk yesterday, data is the currency. So data, if you're able to handle the data and decipher out the right information, I think you can generate a lot of performance issues, you can generate a good training value out of it, and also I think you can generate a lot of revenue out of it.
Right. So I think we have discussing about more of the regulatory issues also, and we have discussed like how data is enabling any industry to work smoothly, efficiently and effectively. Now, I would like to come back to the education sector right now. Like, what type of skills or what type of knowledge do you see the next generation coming forward, and this generation what is passing out from different education institutions, apart from the regular degree, right? What type of skills do you look at to handle the business operations as well? In that overview, I'm asking.
So, Dr. Sairam, thank you. So, I will talk specific to healthcare. So, in healthcare, actually, most of the future skills, healthcare is a human enterprise, right? While digitalization is driving the future skill needs of the industry, it is also consumer who is driving. When I say consumer who is driving, the technology revolution that is happening in other industries, like say food industry, Swiggy, Zomato, or in the transport industry, Ola, Uber, the similar trends are expected in healthcare. So what's happening now, today you have almost over 70% of the blood sample collection today happens from home. Until 2005, 70% of the blood samples that were collected for preventive or curative diagnostics happened at the hospitals or a diagnostic center. So people want, so the consumer is driving that kind of a revolution. This is one. Second, they want healthcare to be delivered at home. So suddenly we see a revolution of home healthcare. We have unicorns like Portia, Nightingale, Apollo Home Care, a lot of new companies forming up because there are two reasons for it. One, the consumer wants healthcare at home. Second, the average length of stay of the hospital. The hospitals are also under tremendous financial pressures, so they want to send the patient back home and treat them at home. So home healthcare industry is growing. Then you are seeing similar trends with respect to the data now. So you need a healthcare data analyst. Why they are called healthcare data analyst? As I told you, the permutation, I'll just take a simple example of a patient coming with fever and pain abdomen. A fever and pain abdomen, there are over 90 diagnoses that can be made. Someone coming with fever, and if it is right side, acutely, early morning onset pain, the first thing and goes towards appendicitis. So someone tossing on the bed, then it goes towards ureteric colic. Someone having a pain in the back radiating to the abdomen, fever, it can be a pancreatitis. So these things cannot be, they can be taught to the computer, but you require a human intervention. While there are medical errors done by humans, there is also a possibility of medical error done by a system as well. So how can we feed these humongous permutations and combinations? I just told about a simple example of fever and pain abdomen. Think about a seizure. Think about some complex stroke. Think about cardiac arrest. So there are multiple permutations and combinations. So the data analysis is definitely forging forward. A lot of kind of human intelligence and artificial intelligence are working together to make this happen. The third area is data storage. Earlier it was mostly paper data, now digitalization of data, electronic medical records, hospital information systems, adoption is also increasing. So with this data, you mentioned about data regulatories. Today, globally HIPAA is a kind of a data compliance regulatory, that is their Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. It's not implemented in India yet, but I think soon these compliances will become global. The data exchange will become global. And we are seeing AI implementation in imaging, like for example, earlier in a government hospital, say in Telangana, or Andhra Pradesh or Uttar Pradesh, to get a X-ray report, the turnaround time was 14 days. Today, with implementation of AI in most of the states, a radiologist is not required to diagnose 80% of the X-rays, because the system is saying whether it is a normal X-ray or an abnormal. The 20%, so there's a huge workload reduction on the radiologist. And just for you to know, there are less than 2,000 or 2,500 qualified radiologists in India today. So that means for a 1.3 billion population, how can these radiologists serve, right? So these technologies are definitely helping, complementing the digital medical science. And so my point was to upskill the healthcare resources, doctors, nurses, not just skilling new resources on technologies, but upskilling the existing doctors on how to use technology, existing nurses on how to use technology. There's a huge gap there. Digital skills for healthcare professionals is also something that is required. Thank you. In interest of time, I think I should hand it over to the next speaker. Yeah.
You want to add something on the lines of upskillingness and the digitalization aspects required?
Right. Along with the increased lifespan, the quality of life of individual is getting paramount importance. And in healthcare, there are primary 4 divisions: diagnosis, intervention, might be surgical or non-surgical interventions. Third part is medication. And fourth and most important part is bringing them back to near normal life, even after a surgery or after medical or even after debilitating treatments like chemo and radiotherapy. These modern technology and digitalization is actually enhancing job opportunities and the areas of services enormously at every level. And as Sir Dr. Srinivas Gar rightly mentioned, there are very minimal number of radiologists, but the digital imageology has evolved like an ocean. 15 years back, I remember we have plain X-ray, plain CT scan, and plain MRI. Now we are going into angiograms, CT angios, MR angios, color Dopplers, you name it, you have it, and we are going into 3D, 4D, into most advanced things. And the secret and the key is, in long neurodegenerative conditions, it will take some time to evolve that condition and present itself as what it is. For example, either it is dementia, or we are talking about Alzheimer's. Both might present as the similar set of symptoms initially, but over 4 to 5 years of time, they will evolve into a completely different ballgame. And the secret lies in early identification, and that is where digitalization, AI, VR, all these things are going to help us. And early identification will help us with early interventions or deep brain stimulations, or with the modern medications available. Those things are actually going to enhance not just lifespan, but the quality of life eventually. So in these aspects, at every point, there are huge opportunities for the next generations to come up. And this is going to be, I believe we are at the very beginning of the growth curve as far as digital innovations are concerned. huge potentials are there. The always secret is understanding, as far as healthcare is concerned, understanding the value of human life and understanding the value of quality of life of that individual. And the idea is to keep them active and happy and live their longer life. As long as the passion of helping another human being is active and is sticking to the heart, and technology will always help us in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Nandakishwar and Dr. Srinivas. Mr. Manish, what do you feel, since the journalism has taken a different turn, given to many YouTubes has come, you have said like there are many channels and there are many individuals who directly shoot videos and try to post by themselves. And that opens a different sectors apart from the regulatory bodies concerns for starting a company in the print media and then run it. So what challenges you face that digitization is hampering the journalism sector?
No, I would rather contradict you. You know,
Please.
I'm a huge supporter of this digitization, and I again emphasize it's how important that, you know, to take it to next level. What you're talking about, the bad news and good news, right? And those are the choices. You know, people have to choose that. You know, there would be in the society, in the community, you know, and the country. It is up to the individual to pick up. But there's a one side, what government is trying to do is bring some sort of regulation to control the digital media, and there has been some fertile debate on this, you know, that is it worth doing that? But so far, what I think, it is in the right direction. You know, what things happen in very fast pace, it creates some confusion, it does. And so India is again, like economy, as a country, is in transition mode. The same thing applied to media. We had a huge tradition of print so far. We also had a television media. Now, digital has taken such a huge paradigm shift. When I say digital, it also includes the social media. It has a huge impact. Let me tell you, it has so much impact that government is built up on that. Election campaign is run on that. A mighty 1.4 billion countries, prime minister is chosen based on the perception in the social media. And who drives social media is the digitization. Simply, you talk about local ground. You go at the corner of India, and it's a humongous thing to that. You know, it should be encouraged. At some point of time, it depends on the role in the media. There should be some overarching authority. The people from the media itself, you know, and there could be somebody from the government. They can talk about some hygiene, as I said, emphasize some basic fact, and what is fact, what is not fact. Those things can be highlighted, but then this pace of digitization in media is unstoppable. It is, and it should be continue, it should be encouraged, and there are formats which are coming up. Even you challenge it, it would be unstoppable. I give you example. I come from a very hardcore print background. I work in all national newspapers, from the Hindu, now Indian Express, Financial Express. Now, I have hired a young journalist, and now there's a format which is called web story. You know what is web story? It is just, it wants your 1 minute of span, 1 minute of attention. That's what you want. What I used to do, when I used to write an article about 1,500 words, you know, standard article, which I talked about policies and all that. You know what, it take me 2 days. I speak with a lot of people. Suppose I'm writing about defense policies. I would speak with industry. I speak with people from aviation. For example, I'm writing about that. Government, policymaker. It would get views, I mean, page views, say, example, 5,000. That's a standard one. That's a good article. You know, it could be a Shekhar Gupta article, Manish article, really. Now, the web story, with the simple picture, visual, short description, it could be about anything. You know how much it attracts? Average 15,000 page view. And in some of them, it could cross more, 1 million. It's just about 1 minute to span. You have in a space called, in short, a news integrator, which is taking country by strides. Believe me, people like me have put in my mobile because I don't have time. I have so much things coming up and I have to write and all that, but I need to know what's happening in different fields. not because I cover foreign affairs and defense and policy matter, but also know what is happening in the health sector. And maybe I'll need to know what is happening, in the crime reporting, in my area particular. InSort does that. Quick reporting, just or maybe 30, 40, 50 words. And that's how the young generation is capturing. And they are the future. We are the youngest country in the world. And that's how I think it's all bright. It's all bright. It's shiny. It's only that you need to have a smarter young journalist. They need to be paid well. This is the challenge. This industry is open. Anybody can jump in. You are from IT, or you are from mass communication, you are a media guy, or you are from a management guy. I mean, I studied management. Of course, I had liberal arts, University of Delhi. You can jump in. So it's a very competitive field. So you need to have some understanding about that before you come in. It will filter out over the time with country mature, system mature. It will think. It will of course be a better place to be. So that's what my whole idea. Yeah.
Well, it opens another discussions over there. But given to time constraints, we can hold it. What I'm looking at is like, you rightly mentioned that print media is there, and now there are different ways of influencing the election campaigns and all. The Trump issue is a different issue. I don't want to go there. But yes, that's an influencer for everyone. I would like to open a last question to Mr. Vivek Kalia, please. So, we have talked about having some malfunctions of the sensors, and you report back to the OEMs and all. So how often this happens, and what is the time frame you take to get these issues resolved by the OEMs? Because aircraft is just one aluminum can, what the people say, and you're in the air. And the safety concerns I'm talking, how digitalization is helping you towards improvising the safety of the aircraft more and more on daily basis.
Aircraft is a mechanical device. It will have failures. It will have failures, but yes, definitely, fortunately, failures are not catastrophic. But components will fail. Components do fail. There are performance issues which happen. And that's what I say, when the data gets transferred from the aircraft down to the airline center which is there, there are people down below sitting inside. The AOG situation in aircraft generally gets resolved 24 hours. That's the timeline which is generally set. It's very stringent timelines, and whether the OEMs or the component OEMs who are there, it's upon them to deliver those components to the airlines which are there, so that the aircraft is up and about again after getting the component repaired. So the ownership is not only on this thing. So it regularly happens, I would say, but you would have not seen that, that there are a number of aircraft which are grounded because of want of components which are there. So the data transfer keeps taking place. There are systems which are there. As I said, 24 hours is what is the time frame which is available to them. But main important thing is that it's a real-time data analysis which takes place from the data which is coming right from the aircraft's performance in the real time, and that curtails down the downtime of the aircraft. Immediately it comes down. Generally, the airlines will stock up also. If they don't stock up, the MROs which are supporting them will be stocking up those things. And in a rare condition, when it has to go or it has to come from abroad, then only it can take some time. But otherwise, I think the real-time data analysis helps to identify the problem and thereafter get the right component to repair the aircraft. But it happens, it does happen in the airlines.
Right. Thank you so much. Well, to conclude, because we are running out of time, sorry for it, but to conclude in this direction, what Dr. Srinivas, Dr. Nandakishore, Mr. Manish Shah, Mr. Vivek Kalia, and myself moderating the panel, what we understand here is like digitalization is going to be there for the next coming decades long, and we need to have the human interventions to take the decisions accordingly, not let the AI or the machine learning run and take the necessary decisions and the calls, which might lead to some mishaps, specifically because all the sectors are very important. That's why I mentioned we are having the important sectors, the medical industry, the fourth pillar, and the airline industry, where everyone uses on day-to-day life and all the transactions are done. And the government specifically, we need to see how the regulatory aspects of the privacy concerns of the data, the cyber attacks, how do we avoid them, is also a concern aspects over here. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to all the four panelists over here, and thank you for the discussions. I request, can we have a group photograph before we leave the session back to Lasya, please? Sir, please. I'm sorry. Mr. Ranjan Dwivedi. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry for encroaching the time of this August audience, but 3-4 short points. Obviously, digitization is going to stay and it's going to be long. I mean, I think that's not the debate anymore. One important issue is that, again, I keep coming back to the issue of Indian languages, I mean, the whole debate is too English-centric. It's a language not understood by about 85% of the people. Now, imagine the implications on cybersecurity. If you do something, even if you install some software, you just keep doing okay without realizing as to what you're agreeing to. So that's one. Cybersecurity issues have to be addressed in Indian languages. That's one. Second important issue is, and it's amazing that it's taken so long, there has to be a proper taxonomy of all IT terms in all the Indian languages. You see, there's no sense, everybody trying to discover his own little term for what it ought to be. Thirdly, you have to have applications in the Indian languages to be able to derive the value that is there. And there are two short points about data being on the public platform. You see, increasingly the tendency is to put more and more information in the public domain, especially government data. Now, the country has to improve significantly its ability for data analytics. If we don't do that, we'll find that all our data is there on the cloud. Everybody is accessing it, analyzing it, benefiting from it at our expense. So we have to invest heavily in that area. Thank you.